Hello, welcome or welcome back to Everything But Dogs. Today I want to talk about, should you have backyard ducks?
You should. You probably should.
You definitely should. As you can tell, we're back again. It's me and my girlfriend. She has a mic this time, which is really nice. She's not just some random voice in the background. Let's get into today's video. I'm going to start with the first section. I only got two today. Won't be as long as the chameleon video, I promise. First section, if you watched our chameleon video, you may have heard of before. It is research. Obviously, just like I said in the chameleon video, you're making a purchase of a living creature with a life, with feelings, with emotions. You should make sure you're doing research before you make this purchase. It's a very, very important one. What do I mean by research? Well, you can watch YouTube videos. You can look stuff up online. We found a lot of information online when we were searching up ducks for the first time, and a lot of it is really, really helpful. There's some wonderful places. Metzer Farms is really nice. That's where we got our young ducklings from. They're just wealth of knowledge, and it's really super phenomenal that there are places like this for people that are interested to look it up and learn what they need to learn about these wonderful animals. So while you're looking into these different duck species, it's important to see different sizes the ducks can come in, different kinds of ducks. There are really some gorgeous animals that you can get. All of our experiences with Pekins, we've had a handful of Pekins, and now we're raising a couple Welsh Harlequins, but there's some really crazy stuff that you can get. Goofy looking ducks, and they're just so cool. But it's important to know how big that duck's going to get and what that duck requires, and maybe how loud it is or how skittish it is. It's crazy how different all of these different ducks can be. And also, something that we didn't realize until we started looking up ducks and getting into them. In the United States, it is illegal for anyone to buy or sell one duck. You have to do two or more because ducks are so highly social. It's literally illegal to buy just one or sell just one duck. So make sure you take that into account when you're considering getting a duck, because you're not going to get a duck. You're going to have to get two ducks. Let's get into what the needs are of at least our ducks, and I think probably most species of duck, the bare minimum needs that you're going to have to give for them. So before we start, I'm going to just kind of read off all of the things I'm about to talk about. I'm going to cover space, water, housing, food, and enrichment. Starting with space, obviously ducks are animals. And they come from wild animals. They've been domesticated pretty well, but still, they like space. The more space you can give them, the better, obviously. And we free range our ducks in our backyard. I'll probably put some clips in of the backyard here. And it's not a huge space, but it does give them something to do during the day, to walk around and eat grass and things like that. I'll cover the eating grass in the next section when I talk about food. But free ranging like we do in our backyard may not always be possible, and that's okay. And if it's not possible, you got to make sure you provide enough room. I looked up a couple sources, and from what I've seen, it's about 15 to 30 square feet per duck, depending on the size and how comfortable you want them to be in a run. So a run is the not enclosed, housed off portion where they can run around. Inside the house, it's recommended to have 3 to 6 square feet of floor space per duck, because ducks do sleep on the floor. So you want to make sure there's enough room for them to stretch their wings out and be comfortable in the house and not all crammed up. If you can, room for a pool or a pond is a very big plus. Ducks don't require water to swim in to survive. However, we don't want our ducks to just survive. we'd like our ducks to live, and water and someplace to swim is very, very important for a happy and healthy duck. Our ducks love the little pool that we've got for them. We just recently actually upgraded to a bigger pool, and they love swimming around in it, dunking their heads in it.
They also love the bathtub, so
Yeah,
don't
that's
think
true.
they're picky.
Bathtub, any amount of water, honestly. It doesn't have to be a 1,000-gallon pool. We've got a little tin that's probably 2 gallons that's just big enough for one duck to fit in completely. And if we fill that with water, they'll sit in it all day long. So any amount of water is really wonderful. And that's going to lead me into our next section, which is the water. So like I said, they don't have to have a pool, but it's significantly better for their well-being to have them. And like I said, it doesn't need to be very big. But something you should consider if you're going to give them a pool or a pond is that it's easy to clean. Ducks poop a lot. And being a bird, they can't really hold it. They don't have a sphincter, which is the muscles that contract where your poop would come out. They don't have that. It just comes out whenever it's ready. It always seems really convenient. I don't know if you've ever noticed this, dear, but whenever it's time to pick a duck up, they always seem to poop right before I pick them up, trying to get me to go away from them. So they don't have control over it, but it seems like they can time it pretty well. Anyway, as I was saying, something that can be dumped out or cleaned easily. A big stock tank you could do, or a kiddie pool. Kiddie pool we tip over and dump out. A stock tank usually has some kind of little cap at the bottom that you can open up and it'll drain from the bottom and it'll be easy to hose out. But you need something that you can clean with because ducks are messy, very, very messy, and they'll get their water dirty very, very quickly. Moving on now to the housing. Like I said, ducks are smelly, they're also loud, and they taste pretty good. All these things combine together to make anywhere that ducks are very attractive to predators. When I say predators, for us here in South Florida, all we really need to worry about is raccoons. But if you were in a more rural area, foxes, coyotes, things like that could be a problem for you as well.
We've seen coyotes.
Yeah, we have seen coyotes, but it's not as common where we're at because we're in a pretty busy area and there's not a lot of space for coyotes to be hanging out. But they will come. They can smell them, they can hear them, and they're very tasty. So you got to make sure that any house that you do have is predator proof. And I don't just mean, a big wall, because these raccoons and foxes and things like that, they're very smart. They'll open latches, they'll dig under holes. I used to go camping when I was little. We had raccoons open our cooler and take the steaks out of our cooler and close the cooler lid back up. So we didn't know that there were raccoons there until we went to go eat the next day. So you've got to make sure that it's predator proof, whatever house you are going to have for your ducks, because you don't want to wake up in the morning to find a house full of feathers. It's not a great thing to wake up to. I mentioned earlier that ducks sleep on the ground, so you need that little bit of space for them. Added to that, I don't know how necessary it is. I think it's pretty necessary for us, but I'm sure you could get away without it. But we have wood shavings at the bottom of our little duck house just so that it's a little more comfortable. Our one girl, her name is Pipsqueak, she lays eggs pretty regularly, and she likes to use the wood shavings to build a little nest. So we like to keep it fresh and clean as much as we can for her because she likes to build little nests and lay her eggs in them, which is very convenient for us because they're always in one spot and it's very easy to go pick them up. Other than that, we only let our ducks outside during the day because, like I said, the predators, they'll come by, and usually it's in the evening, dawn to dusk, no, dusk to dawn, the other way around, at night. When the sun goes down at night and then when the sun comes up. But anytime we've ever lost an animal, it's been something like that. We've lost a couple ducks to predators, and it's never great, but it usually happens later in the day. Maybe we didn't get home in time to put somebody away, or or we were out of town and it didn't get done, but it's very important to make sure the ducks are inside when the sun goes down, because not only do they want someplace safe to sleep, but they deserve someplace safe to sleep. Moving on now to food. Ducks, like anything else, you say finally.
Starve.
Yeah, me too. Ducks, like anything else, need a varied diet. It just is easier to be more healthy. If all you did for your whole life was eat peanut butter and jellies, you probably would be lacking in a couple areas. So you got to make sure that you vary the diet for your ducks. Each animal, though, is going to be unique. So you're going to have to figure out what your ducks like to eat and what they don't. Fortunately, you picked a good animal if you're looking at ducks, because they're not very picky. We looked up, when we first got them, a list of what food can you feed a duck, and the first search result I got said, hey, you probably should look up a list of food you can't feed a duck, because that's a shorter list. So the diet needs to be varied, but ducks make it very easy on us because they like a lot of food, so it's not very hard. Along with food, ducks obviously need to drink. They need access to clean water, and that could be their pond or the little pool that you give them if you have one. We have that, and we also have other little containers with water in them for them to drink from, so they don't always have to run to the pond if they want to drink. Just be warned, if it's big enough to fit a duck and it has water in it, the duck will sit in it, and they will poop in it, and it's going to get messy. So you need to regularly change out the water, because it's all going to get messy and dirty. Those ducks need that water in order to swallow food, so they're always putting their beaks in it with a mouthful of food, and it doesn't take long at all for that food to cloud up all the water. So you need to regularly replace the water and make sure that it's clean for your ducks. An easy way to make sure that your ducks are getting a variety of food is to free range them, like we do in our backyard. That open space from the forage is really good for them, because not only does it get them walking around and digging and doing natural duck-like things, but they're eating bugs and they're eating leaves and grass and things like that, and it helps to boost their intake of vitamins and natural foods, so that they can have, more varied and healthy diet. The final part of this section is enrichment. I'm going to start this big bold letters. Listen very closely. Ducks are very social. Like I talked about earlier, you can't legally buy or sell just one duck. You have to do multiple. There's a reason for that. They're super highly social, and you got to make sure that they have things to do. Fortunately, because they're so social, they can keep themselves occupied with their friends pretty well. But you can always supplement other things in there with them. For example, whenever we clean out the pond or are watering the plants in our backyard, our ducks love to dig holes in the mud, looking for grubs and things like that, making a mess. And of course, we've got white ducks, so they always get so messy and have to take a bath in the pool afterwards so that they can clean themselves off. It's just little things like that. They don't need a lot. You don't need to go buy them a sprinkler system like you would for your kids, or a slip and slide. I'm sure they'd love it. I'm sure they'd try to eat it though. But they might enjoy it, but you don't have to buy something like that. Digging in the mud. Our ducks love mirrors. We'll set a mirror up and the ducks will just stare at themselves for hours. They also like being sprayed with the hose. You put your thumb on top of it and make the misty bit, or you have a what is that called? The tip of a hose. Just a nozzle. There you go. A hose nozzle. You can make it a mist setting, spray the ducks with it. They'll sit there and just bask in it like they love it. So it doesn't take much. You could get them toys if you wanted to. I've seen people give their ducks toys, but it's not necessary. They'll occupy themselves, but some kind of enrichment is recommended. So quickly before we finish up here, I would like to talk one more thing. I want to talk about eggs. Ducks are birds. Birds lay eggs. Duck eggs are really wonderful. Like I said earlier, our ducks lay eggs, and they're great to cook with. I love a good duck egg, fry it up, and put it in some ramen, it's way better than a chicken egg. They're a little bigger, they're a little richer. However, ducks lay eggs in the early morning, so if your ducks have a lot of space in their house, they'll just kind of plop the eggs out wherever they want. Fortunately for us, our ducks, Pip, she loves to just lay in the same spot, so we know exactly where the eggs are going to be, but you're not always going to get that lucky. So you got to make sure you're checking different areas. Every once in a while, one of our ducks will lay an egg in their pond. Got to get that out. You don't want that to be messing up your pond. But they will just lay them wherever they want in most cases. So when the time comes that they are old enough, which I think is maybe 8 months, maybe a little earlier, a little later than that, make sure that you're checking different areas that you see your ducks go for eggs, because you don't want to leave those out because they'll attract predators as well. I think that about does it for all the stuff that I wanted to talk about today. There's obviously more stuff to learn, and if you're serious about looking into maybe getting a duck, I don't think this video should be the only video that you watch. You should watch as many videos as you can, or look up as many things as you can to learn as much as possible. But I think that's about all I want to say in this video today. So with that being said, I think I'm going to wrap it up here. Thank you very much for watching. If I missed something egregious, as usual, leave it in the comments and I'll talk to you in there. Otherwise, thank you very much for watching. We've been Everything But Dogs, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.